Welcome to episode 77 of the Loane Hockey Podcast, where today we're going to be talking about a player who is currently on tryout with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that's Max Pacioretty. Now, Max Pacioretty, obviously formerly known as the main captain with the Montreal Canadiens, and ever since his time out of Montreal, he's bounced around a few different teams now, but for where he's at and where his game is at, even as a 35-year-old player, and what he's done over the course of the time in the league. His game, there's still some offense to his game. He still has some offensive contribution that he can bring. That's a really big component when talking about his game, and the importance of his game is how he can still contribute offensively. It's more questionable as to whether or not he can produce at a high level anymore. But at the same time, you look at how productive he's been over the course of time offensively, and he adds a bit of offensive touch in many different situations. And obviously, very well renowned as a goal scorer, a guy who can put pucks in the back of the net, a guy who can score off the rush, a guy who could score in many different situations, in many different scenarios. But at the same time, he can also score in a variety of ways as well. So he can score on the power play, he can score at even strength, and he's very productive as a finisher in terms of his numbers in general. And obviously, less of a playmaker. He's not necessarily relied upon as much in terms of his playmaking ability, and more you're getting more of a shot threat type player. So ideally, if you put him on a line with two playmakers that can feed him the puck and get him the puck, he can shoot off the pass, shoot off the catch. He can find ways to score from a variety of different situations inside the offensive zone. So in terms of Toronto, obviously they need a left winger, they need a goal scorer inside that top six, and he could still provide some top six impactful type minutes where he could still produce, he could still add goals, and he can still find ways to put the puck in the back of the net. And with Pacioretty, he can, like I said, he can finish in tight, he can finish from afar. He's really skilled as a scorer around the net, and he's really skilled in small areas as well. So he's really skilled in a multitude of ways when it comes to creating goals and being able to create as a finisher. And and you're not going to necessarily get the same impact that he had in Montreal, and for any veteran of that matter. But at the same time, you look at his game, you still can see that he can add some of the finishing touch. And what I've really liked about his game, especially in his time with Vegas, and then you look at his time in Carolina and then Washington, and how he's been a lot of different places. He's been in a lot of different teams, but he's really adapted to each system really well. And the other thing I've really noticed about these teams is they like to play active forechecking styles. They like to be active on the hunt when they're trying to get the puck. They like to be active inside the offensive zone in terms of their tactics and the nuances that integrate their offensive zone system. So those handful of teams that I just mentioned, they do a really good job of that, especially Vegas and Carolina, and how they integrate modern day nuances into their ozone possession habits, and being able to have guys active and being able to have guys hunting with speed and being able to use their speed to their advantage as much as possible. So you look at where the Leafs are at now, obviously they have Craig Berube coming in, so slightly different tactical shift when it comes to and relative to Sheldon Keefe, but at the same time, Berube still likes to incorporate some deactivation. He likes to incorporate some activation on the forecheck, speed on the forecheck, and he's shown in the past that he's willing to adapt to the analytical side of the game. So with that, Toronto's still going to play a heavy system, a heavy style of game, a heavy forecheck game, but at the same time, they're going to be more tactically nuanced at the same time, and it's going to help them, and it's going to allow them to continue to get better over time. With Pacioretty's game, that forechecking attribute has really helped him in the teams that and the systems that he's been involved in the last handful of years, because Vegas was a very up-tempo style forechecking system where they tried to hunt the puck quickly, and they tried to retrieve pucks fast, similar to Carolina. Carolina is better, one of the best teams in the league, if not the best, at being able to track with positional habits and positional instincts, because they really understand their roles as F1, F2, F3, and they understand how to close guys down, how to close space down, how to limit space and close gaps efficiently, and also go stick on puck efficiently. Florida is also really good at doing it, but outside the point. And with Pacioretty, you can throw him on the power play as well. He still has power play value, so you can even put him on the second unit if you wanted to as a starting point, or you can put him on the first unit. Ideally, on the flanks, you want him on the flanks or as a strong side option, manning the point, because again, it's not going to be the same relative to his time in Montreal. It's not going to be the same in terms of power play production, but at the same time, you want him on the flank so he can use that shot. He can use that one timer. He can use that snapshot. He can use that ability to shoot off the pass, shoot off the catch. And that's one of his most potent abilities in terms of his overall game and his goal scoring is how he can shoot in a multitude of ways. And not only in small areas, but also from afar and being able to generate shots from range. And he's a very quality shooter when it comes to shooting off the rush as well. He has a lot of good elements when it comes to his shooting game off the rush. And a lot of that was shown in Vegas specifically because of, again, Vegas's neutral zone system, their line rush play, and the neutral zone allows them to have activity and speed up the wings. So this allows them to close on defensemen, take advantage of defensemen on entries a little bit easier than other teams because they have more speed on their wings than other teams do. So with Pacioretty, he could play with speed flying down the wing. He could beat you easily one-on-one solely based on his speed and his puck skill alone. And he could shoot off the rush with a quick snapshot or a quick wrist shot in sight, something along those lines. And obviously, really skilled player, but really skilled to have those instincts as a goal scorer and really understand those situations and how to actually score in those settings. And so with Pacioretty, he's a really intriguing small area threat, like I mentioned multiple times. In Washington, you saw some top nine abilities, so he's able to play a top nine role consistently. He can move up and down the top nine. I'd imagine it's going to be very similar in Toronto, where he moves up and down the top nine if he does sign there. I would imagine he does sign there. I wouldn't be totally surprised because Toronto needs a winger. They need a goal scoring element inside their top six on wing, and they could certainly have more benefit to adding a not only goal scorer to even strength play, but also to the power play production and being able to have that as a contribution factor as well. And Pacioretty, it all depends on how he's going to do at camp. So if he's well adjusted and he adjusts really well to his line mates, and ideally you want him in top six role right away, then that's a really good sign. It's a really good showing sign that he could very well do more for the Leafs in the future and could very well add a little bit more value in however many years left he has in the league now. And the other advantage is that he's fully healthy. So you're getting a fully healthy version of him. You still don't necessarily know if he's going to be a consistent level contributor offensively anymore. At the same time, you know he's healthy. You can take advantage of that to try and play him more often and try to take advantage of his ice time as well to be able to have him play in many different situations.